So, yeah, we were already talking off camera about some stuff, but I guess like one of the biggest questions I had for you guys is, did you picture yourselves ever wanting to be church planners growing up? I already know what your answer is going to be, but I mean, obviously I want both of your answers.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
Yo, when I married her, or whenever we started dating, she was like, I don't want to be a pastor's wife. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. And, you know, it was one of those things where I treat it like, you know, they say be careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. I say be careful what you tell God you're not going to do.
Yeah.
Because he like writes that down somewhere.
Yeah, that's why like I'm always like, God, I never want to have $1 million. Because,
oh my gosh.
I mean, that you're basically, but no, I know I for sure it never crossed my mind. When I left Baton Rouge whenever I graduated from LSU and said I would never go back.
Oh, you said that?
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah. Like, I legit never wanted to go back.
Wow.
And so whenever this all started, like, it was definitely out of left field.
Oh, for sure. And, like, I never wanted to leave Revival Center. I'm going to be honest. I told Taylor, I was like, I'm not going to move to Louisiana. I'm not moving away from home. And
why you got to throw that out there?
yeah. So, but then I did because Jesus said so. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I've always had a heart for missions. I mean, that's like a big part of who Revival Center is, and doing missions conference for years and seeing the home missionaries, you know, like Scott and Cheryl, being able to go there and experience that. I always had a heart for them, but I never would say that, yeah, that's totally going to be me. But like Taylor said, God has maybe a little bit of a sense of humor, and
yeah.
You just don't tell God no. And there is a lot of peace when you're in his will. And thankfully, I do come from a church who always took interest in church planning and home missionaries and foreign missionaries. So my heart for them easily was like transferred into a heart for church planning.
And I think that's too, like, that goes back to RC put that spirit in you, that burden within you through missions conference. I mean, my first missions conference was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had, just to see like how one whole church can be so forward about purpose, about mission, about like, and the excellence that's brought into it. But I think as much as that was put in you from RC, you also witnessed through your parents, like what a pastor and his family go through.
Oh, definitely.
And is that why you didn't want to be that? Because I remember growing up, you would always tell me that, like, I am not going to be a pastor's wife. And
I think that, like, I did see the different, like, external pressures, and my parents always handled it like champs. But I'm not, even being on camera right now, like, I'm not a very forward person. I don't like to be in front of people. I'm very comfortable backstage. And so I was very, very interested in just being, like, a Sunday school teacher, or just being like a really faithful saint who gets involved in different ministries and supports the pastor. But I wouldn't say that they were the reason why I didn't want to. I think it was more being front and center was just not my thing. I wasn't interested in it. Kind of back to like missions conference and what it did for me personally is I know that we would bring these people in and we would treat them like royalty. And we would take care of them. We would pick them up. We would get their meals and really make it a special experience. And that was always very special for me to be able to do that for them. But I think coming back, it's a whole new perspective because like church planning and missions work, you are just working so hard all the time. You are everything to everyone. And so to come in and actually get ministered to is huge. Yeah. And so even this year, it's going to be so special to be able to come back and experience it with a whole different perspective.
Yeah, because you guys are experiencing the no Sundays off.
No,
not even during the week. I'm sure your guys' weeks, and I know because I've been with you guys, your guys' week, every day is something vessel related happening. If it's an hour, 3 hours, something like vessel is your life. It's in your blood, everything. So I can totally understand where you're coming from that. And when you guys were, I know it's hard to pinpoint like a certain moment, but what was that moment, either of you, and I know we kind of talked about it already, but you guys felt that calling to start a church in Baton Rouge?
You first.
Yeah.
So as stated, I never wanted to go back to Baton Rouge. And what happened is it was a Sunday night. The church that I was a youth pastor at, it was in the midst of a worship service, and I'll never forget it. They were playing that song by Chris Tomlin, "At the Cross," where the blood ran red. Right, it's on the bridge, and I was praying, and like literally, I see this crimson thread. It's like God shows me this vision of this crimson thread of people that help shape my life, shape who I am, shape my faith, and were there for me in different times in my life. I'm trying not to get emotional.
That's fine.
But I see this thread, and then it starts with like leadership, but then that thread went to friends, and then it got to backsliders, prodigals, people that I know are not living for God at this point that I grew up in church with. And dude, like this like just wave of emotion and brokenness and like sorrow, just dude, it comes over me, and I start praying for them. And I thought it was just for that moment. I thought it was just like a temporary thing, but the next day, it's like I go to pray, and it's still there. I'm like, okay, so I'm praying for these people again. The next day, same thing. And it goes into a principle that I teach of like recognizing patterns of the Spirit. People are like, I don't know what to do. What keeps on coming up in prayer, right? This kept on coming up. And so then I understood, I need to take this seriously. This isn't just like some temporary prayer burden.
It's recurring for a reason.
Exactly. So that's when I started praying like, okay, God, what is this about? I'm going to continue to pray for them, but what is really going on? I started praying and fasting about that. And like the thought entered into my mind to start a church in Baton Rouge, which I immediately like dismissed because.
And what year was this?
This was 2018.
Okay.
This is 2018.
I remember before that, when we were engaged, Mom came.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we had, they call it wedding showers in Louisiana. We were having a wedding shower, and we were sitting outside, and Mom just looked at Taylor, and she said, "Is there a church here?" And he was like, "Not in the heart of the city, no." And she was like, "Someone needs to start a church here." And that was just like fleeting. It was like, okay, Mom,
Something
thank you
look
for
back
that.
on now, like,
yeah, thanks for
whoa.
that input. But for me, I think that every time we would go to visit his parents in Denham Springs, which is a suburb of Baton Rouge, when we would go into the city, there was just something about it that felt like home. Like nowhere in Louisiana feels like home. Home is home, right?
Yeah.
But Baton Rouge, there was something about it that I was just drawn to. And I remember telling someone, like, this city just, it feels like home. It feels like the closest thing to home I can get in Louisiana. And so, I mean, it had crossed my mind in prayer, but after Taylor brought that to me, it was just like, yeah, that makes sense. That's absolutely what we need to do. There's no like hesitancy from me at all, because I don't know, there's a reason that God allowed me to feel that way towards Baton Rouge, towards that city.
Yeah.
It was definitely divine.
So that's kind of where when I first was going to talk to her about it, I was freaking out.
Scared.
I was so scared.
Because you get this California girl to move to Louisiana. And then you're like, hey, let's start a church and move somewhere else again.
Exactly. That's exactly what went through my mind. And so whenever she's like, yeah, like that makes sense. I've already thought about it. I'm like, whew, that's how I know it's God, right? Yeah. But we started praying together about it. We talked to our leadership about it and had them praying with us. And then the crazy thing, because like we would get like small confirmations, like things with her mom, stuff like that, right? The craziest thing that like fully sealed the deal was I was taking her to her first LSU game. And it was a Saturday. We were at my parents'. So we spent that morning praying. And we said, okay, God, we've gotten small things. Like you've spoken in small ways. But if this really is your will, show us, like, give us some sort of indicator to like help solidify that. Because we, I'm not saying that everybody just gets this great big neon sign in
Yeah.
the spirit, right?
You just wanted something a little more.
Yeah, but
we
we
definitely needed like
yeah, exactly. Like
a
we
sign of
push.
some sort.
and
Yeah.
that's a big faith move. And like, yeah, you can do it in faith, but at the same time, like we're just like, okay, we just want to make sure we're not crazy.
Yeah.
So we go and we're spending a day in the city. I was showing her a few spots, and we were going to go somewhere for lunch, but she saw somewhere else. She was like, let's go check it out. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And so the place that we weren't even planning on going to, as we walk up, we see 2 tables full of people that we knew from all over Louisiana because of camps, different churches. And we roll up, we're like, yo, what's going on? Like, they were celebrating a birthday. And so you had people from Lafayette, Lake Charles, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, all right here that all knew us. And so we're in mid-city too.
Yeah.
We're in the part of Baton Rouge that God gave us a heart for. Now, we didn't really recognize that at this time. But as we're talking to them, out of nowhere, it was one of the craziest things. They start talking about how, like, why is there no church here?
Oh my gosh.
Like they're all talking about like this is like an up and coming part of Baton Rouge. There's nothing here. And then they straight up look at us. Do you remember this? Like just
Yeah.
the craziness of it. Why don't you come and start a church here? And I mean, we're on opposite sides of the table, Mehgan and I, and we just like are looking at each
You
other.
guys staring at each other?
Yeah.
like,
Like,
did
okay,
you
God,
say-
thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
right.
This is it.
Dude, and it was this crazy thing where right there, I mean, like, that's where the conversation turned into. How there's such a need for a church here. You should start a church here. And we're just like, okay, fine. Like, all right, God,
All
we
right,
get
this
it.
is the one.
So that was definitely like what sealed it for us.
But what's really cool about that is two of the people who are actually
Yeah.
there are now part of our leadership team.
Yeah.
And we're a part of, the vision of Vessel and actually launching it. So
Yeah.
I think that was
So it was confirmation
So cool.
and and it sealed the deal with that couple and who are just
Because they were
amazing.
there kind of at the birth of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you guys have multiple like moments where like this is it, but that sounds like a
Oh,
moment
yeah.
that's like undeniable.
Right.
shout out to Jordan and Haley. We love you.
But I remember, so you told me 2018 you had this. So this happened a little after, I'm guessing, or earlier, or
Yeah, this was
Oh, this is 2018.
this is still
'Cause
2018.
I remember when we picked Taylor up, and I forgot who was with you for missions conference in 2019, or yes, October 2019.
Yeah.
That was the first time you told me about it.
Yeah.
And bro, like you were just so passionate. Like you had me ready to like pack my bags and go. Because like, I mean, I could tell that it was your heart. Because
Yeah.
I mean, everyone else is tired from the trip. You guys were even tired. It was late. But bro, it's like midnight, 1 a.m, and your eyes are just lit up.
Yeah.
And I've seen you like that on occasion. But like just something was so special about hearing your vision. And I won't say anything that you said because I want you to be able to talk about it later. But bro, I remember being there. I was like, this dude's for real. Like, there's gonna be a church in Baton Rouge, and like even in that moment, I'm like, I'm gonna be there. Like, I'm gonna be there for one of these services or something because
Yeah.
just the way you're talking about it.
Well, that's because like the vision, the burden have been percolating now for almost a year.
Yeah.
Right. And so like we've been praying about it, fasting about it, because like we didn't just like, even after that moment, we still like we submitted to leadership and didn't feel like it was time yet, but like it was still, bro, it was still like burning within me. And so at that point,
You're ready.
yeah, like it was like the arrows being pulled back, just like
Yeah.
ready to go, but it was just waiting for the release,
So speaking of that, one of my questions was, you get that calling, and I know there's a ton of things that have to happen as far as financially and stuff, but what were some of the first steps that you guys did to get Vessel Church going?
Well, we had to agree on the name because
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I shouldn't even said Vessel Church. There was no church name at that time.
I mean,
there was no church name. Taylor was like bringing home names, and I was like, that is the worst name I've ever heard. You're not calling it that.
Can we hear? Oh no, I don't want to say some of the rejects.
One of them was like,
Oh, you're gonna say it.
yeah, well,
Bridge.
it was Bridge. And
Bridge
I was like,
Church.
that sounds like a
'Cause
radio
of Mississippi
station.
River Bridge
and all
Please
that.
do not.
But now knowing what it is, Vessel, like no other name could even come. Vessel is just so.
There was another one. I don't remember exactly that.
Oh, you hated all of them.
Yeah, you brought one home, and I was like, No, we're not calling it that.
Well, you know, it was like
he
it
said,
was like
"God
the
spoke
meme
to
of the
me."
guy with like the conspiracy board behind
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
Like it was me
All
at this
the
point.
papers.
I'm just
He's
like looking for
God,
anything.
I was praying and this name came to me. I was like, that's not of God. That one was not of God. Sorry.
You heard
Try
the
again.
But she was right though.
Try again.
Yeah.
She was my wise counsel.
I feel like you guys have spent more time picking Vessel's name than you will your future kids' names.
Probably.
Honestly, yeah.
Probably. Well, because
But-
it had to mean something, and it also had to sound cool. Like,
Because you guys are
obviously-
thinking about like not just Vessel, like it's like branding, marketing. Because
Yeah.
you guys are both
Yeah.
creative, so like
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, oh, let's call it this. You're like, how would this look on this? How would this
Yeah.
look on Instagram?
Right.
But at the core of it, it had to come from God. Like it
Yeah.
had to resonate with the mission that God wanted to perform in Baton Rouge. And so I remember, and like, dude, I'm a believer that if it's of God, if it's what he wants you to do, if you open up the conversation to him, he will give you so much direction. Like it takes time, but it'll happen. And so it was June of 2019 and so we've already been praying now for anywhere between 7 to 8 months. And it was another vision that God pulled me into, the most immaculate vision. It's the one, I won't go into it because I've like posted videos about it, but it's that whenever we announce the name, it's the vision that's in that video that God shows me. And after receiving that vision and him speaking that, Acts 9:16, you know, he is a vessel, chosen vessel to bear my name, talking about Paul, talking to Ananias. It was like that it's like when God said vessel, I'm like, that's it.
This is it.
Like that. And so it's the first one where I
she
go
liked it.
home and I'm like, what about vessel?
And I was like, yes, finally.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're like, this is the one.
This is the
God
one.
definitely told you about this one. I don't know
Yeah.
about the other ones, but this one
Yeah.
for sure.
This one was for sure.
That's awesome.
So after we get the name, that's where the preparation, we start having to like make sure we secure like, you know, handles, website, all that, because it's just how used to like it would be like in the day of printing out flyers and stuff. Well, now like I feel like one of those necessary things is having all that, you know, web-based, social media-based stuff secured.
Especially for the people you're trying to reach, obviously the whole community, but college-age kids. If
Yeah.
you don't have like if you have no social media presence, they're like, do you even exist?
Yeah.
Which was really hard at first because we had no pictures because we had no people.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Right. So
I
that,
really
that's
hope
where
you like this graphic
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Gentry made.
Yeah, so it's like all vague pictures of the city. They're like, what even is this? What
Is
is it,
this
like
even
a
in
city
Baton Rouge?
council? Or yeah,
City
you know, like painting sidewalks? Like what's going on? But yeah, so we secured all that, and then we put out our first video in January to just like throw it out there, let people
This was
know.
the shorter one, right?
No, this was our long one.
This is like the 2.5 minute one.
Okay.
Where it goes through the whole vision of it, and it was both of us talking about the need, about Baton Rouge, how many people are there, like, you know, about the vision, the mission that we wanted to see, but we didn't mention the name Vessel yet, and we announced that a couple months later, and then we moved whenever the stay-at-home order was issued, because all of our stuff had already been moved to Baton Rouge, and I think we still had like 1 or 2 weeks left in the timeline that we had with the leadership in West Monroe, and but whenever the stay-at-home order was issued, like we're like, dude, we got to go to where our home is, like where all of our stuff. At this point, we were on
our condo had a mattress on the floor and 2 stools.
That was it.
And
Literally,
I was
that's
like,
all we had.
I gotta go.
To put it in reference for everyone listening, this isn't like down the street. This is a 3-hour drive.
Yeah,
right?
3.5 hours.
So you guys aren't like, oh, let's just go to the house around the corner. Like,
Right,
no,
right.
it's a distance.
It's across the state. It's
Yeah.
like it was moving from North Louisiana to South Louisiana.
Yeah, and so that's whenever we basically had to move at that point. And yeah, then it was just a matter of waiting, praying, and like literally seeking not just God, but for God to open up opportunities and divine appointments. Am I missing anything else, or is that?
No.
Yeah.
You guys are just getting off the ground. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and finish the rest of the interview.
All right.
So I lied. I told you guys we're gonna come right back, but we're actually gonna we're gonna post the next part next Thursday. Part 2 went a little long. and we didn't want to make you guys sit through a whole hour episode. So we're going to cut today a little short. Next Thursday, we're going to go a little longer. The rest of the interview is awesome. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Love Taylor and May, their vision for Vessel, vision for Baton Rouge. So come back next Thursday, finish up the interview. We love you. We appreciate you. Bye.